Hey guys, can you hear me right now? Can people see and hear me on the stream? All right, sorry for the early technical issues, but welcome everyone. This is a bit of a new thing we're trying here at Foldit. We're doing a live YouTube stream, and potentially we'll try to expand to other platforms as well. But the purpose of today's workshop here on YouTube is to demo the new Refine Density tool for everyone. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed on our latest density puzzle, Refine Density Reconstruction 1, that we've added a new tool that you could use to update your density in real time to improve as your model improves. And before continuing on, I want to make sure that everyone on the stream can hear and see me and that we're good to get started with the demo. All right, cool. So as you can see here, we have a lot of issues with the backbone in the starting structure, and the density seems to have a little bit of noise going on, right? So the simplest use for the tool is to do a little bit to improve the quality of our structure, and I'll start by shaking. And it seems to be going a little bit slowly because I'm also, running a stream from the same machine. But I'll wiggle as well and get rid of any major issues that we're seeing with the backbone geometry here. Okay, and now seems like a good time to try rephasing because our model is improved and we want to see if we can get some clearer density to try to match with our model. So you see this button down here, it's a cloud, and that's our new tool. So I'll click it and it'll take a few seconds because there's a lot of calculations going on under the hood to try to improve the density. And normally it'll be much more responsive than this, but streaming software that I'm running obviously slows things down a little bit. You see there's an instant, I think it was an 800 point increase in the score instantly just after rephasing. And the density doesn't seem completely clear of artifacts after this initial rephase because there's still a lot more room for improvement in this model, but that's already like a major improvement. And the workflow that we picture for this new tool is kind of an iterative process where you guys will do your usual folding. But when you find that the density might be a limiting factor or there might be something incorrect about it, using that rephase button as a way of kind of cleaning up the density in order to keep making progress. So I'm going to go back to, in this case, just wiggling because there's still clear issues with the backbone. And so again, now that we've seen a little bit of improvement in our structure, I think it'll be a good time to try running a rephase again and improve the density just a little bit more. And welcome to anyone just joining us. As I said a little while ago, this is a new thing we're trying. We're gonna, do demos on our YouTube live to show people. In this case, the new Rephase tool, the Refine Density tool that we added, and give everyone a chance to ask questions that we can answer live about the science of the tool, about how we think it could be, used most optimally. So if anyone has questions, feel free to send them our way. Scott is here from the Foldit team as well. I'm an expert on the scientific side of things and would be happy to answer any of the, super low-level scientific questions. And yeah, I mean, I'll just keep running it and show everyone the workflow of how to best use it. And we've already seen a massive increase in the score just from density refining alone, more than 1,000-point difference. So and we're very excited to start running these puzzles because as those who have been following along closely know, we've already shown that the density reconstruction puzzle series can make a big difference in the scientific community, as we've been working with the folks over at PDB Redo to show that structures created by Foldit players in these density reconstruction puzzles are improvements over what's in the PDB. And now with this new tool to, improve this density tool chain further, we want to test whether or not we can create even better results for those same puzzles. So this Refined Density Reconstruction 1 is a rerun of what I recall was Density Reconstruction Puzzle 3, I believe. So we're really excited to see what the players can do with this this new tool on their belt. And I'll refine the density again. And I'll use the term rephase intermittently, interchangeably with refined density, because that's kind of a more scientific way of looking at things. Like on the mathematical side, what's happening is basically the data collected that represents electron density in crystallography involves an amplitude and a phase because it's waveforms. So a lot of what we're doing with this new tool is using the quality of the model itself to kind of go into that data and improve it by rephasing. There's definitely a lot of computation going on. For the most part, it should be extremely responsive. If you notice that there's a delay before the rephasing occurs on this lab demo that I'm doing now, it's probably more so because I'm also running a software to, share the stream with you guys. So it's slowing everything down a little bit. I'm sure you'll notice too when I wiggle that it's running a bit more slowly, but it is computationally heavy, but also we made sure to design the tool to be as efficient as possible, and we find that it's quite responsive on puzzles of this size. If you are able to run existing folded puzzles without an issue, I don't believe the Refine Density tool should have any effect on that. To address some questions that we've already been asked elsewhere, we do plan on adding this tool as well as the trim tool to Lewis scripting to make it available for players to automate even further. However, we do want to wait until there are a few puzzles run with this tool and that we understand players' relationship with it first before adding it to that tool chain. We want everyone to understand how they'd want to use it in a normal setting before further automating it. But to clarify, the plan is absolutely to make it available in Lua as well. Scott, I'm guessing that question is for me. This took, in total, over a year in the making, I believe, the Rephase tool, or Refine Density tool. So we're definitely really excited to get it out to players because, it's something that, there was a lot of challenges along the way introducing this into the game, and it's something that we're just very proud of. And we think it'll definitely help take these, density reconstruction puzzles to a whole new level. It'll really, I think, potentially exponentially improve how much power players have over improving these structures. That's a great question, Joanna. So the way that most tools, or a lot of tools in Foldit work now, is that they are kind of inherently threaded. Tools will take advantage of the fact that there are multiple threads on most systems and run in their own thread. So in that sense, it does take advantage of multi-threading. However, it has to do so in a limited way. This way it's compatible with all machines. And I'll run another refined density now to show anyone who might just be joining us how much it can improve an already pretty improved model. So this time we actually saw a score drop, which is to be expected with this tool, because it could show that maybe some change that we made to the side chains while we were wiggling and shaking might have actually, been objectively worse for the structure. So even though it can improve the Foldit or Rosetta score of the geometry, it might actually kind of conflict with the crystallography data and cause a score drop. We could also try to match this density better and continue increasing the score. But if you play with this tool, you create a model that you think looks good, and the Refine Density tool tells you otherwise, it might be a sign that you took a step in the wrong direction, or it could also just potentially be a sign that you need to, improve the backbone further to match that new density. So a paper that you could read to understand further, I think that's a question probably more so for Scott than me. So the fact that we've had a few refined densities in a row that didn't improve our score tells me that we're plateauing a little bit in terms of how the wiggling and shaking is improving our model. So if anyone in chat has any suggestions for how we could continue to improve our model, that could be a fun way of everyone learning about the tool a little bit more in real time and how it could be used. And we definitely encourage everyone watching to chime in. Okay. So we have a suggestion to run remixing, like the remix tool here, except in a way that uses Lua to simplify it, I imagine. Oh, true. Okay. Yeah. So Scott makes a really good point. Let's show you guys what happens to the density if we wreck our model, right? And this is a good opportunity to point something out to everyone. So now, we have a model with a lot of clashes and it's all over the place and it's not matching the density. But what if we were to run refine density again? And you might not notice something a bit unexpected about this. It's done running. So what might come across as a bit strange is that a little bit of the density kind of reshuffled in a way that matches the new and incorrect parts of the model here. There's fully red chains of residues here that still have some density on them, and that might come across as unexpected. But what you really have to look for in terms of the density changing over time is just the overall quality of how it looks. Like you'll notice there's a lot of regions of density here that are kind of just amorphous and don't look like a part of a chain. And in general, it just like looks less cohesive. And over time, you'll have to learn to look for density that kind of just looks wrong, because to some degree, it always will follow the model, but you'll just be able to tell it is worse when there's a model that's worse. And so I guess in that sense, this refined density tool is introducing a bit of a new skill for players, a new learning curve to a degree. So now I'll restore very best. And you'll notice that when I restore very best, it'll also return the density to the state that it was in before. So that's something that we added more recently as players experimented with the tool in the developer preview, is that we wanted the density to be tracked on a solution-to-solution basis, so that when you restore, one in particular that you thought was good, it'll also have the density that matched, the state of the solution at that time. A cohesive metric to indicate when this happens. So there is the statistic R-free that gets used a lot in crystallography to show how agreeable a model is with crystallographic data. And there has been talk about adding an R-free calculation into Foldit, in particular, to go along with this new tool. However, it is not presently in the game. It is something that actually, when we are doing that post-analysis to see how good Foldit player structures are, how helpful they are in science, like that is one of the statistics that we pay very close attention to and calculate externally. But again, currently there's no way of doing that in Foldit. In general, though, yeah, the density score more or less will reflect when, density is bad. Because, like, bad density will match up with a bad model less than good density will match up with a good model, generally speaking. I'll take an opportunity to, demo a bit more of our density workflow here. So I'm going to select by radius and then hit the U button to trim to an area that I think is problematic in the structure here, and wiggle focus more on this area. And you'll notice now that it's running, a lot faster than wiggling the whole model was. Generally speaking, this will be a tool that's more helpful for larger structures, but in this case, my machine's running everything a little bit slowly because of the streaming. So this is definitely helping things run a bit faster. Refine density will only be available when the whole pose is shown, when the whole model is shown for reference, but everything's running a bit quicker now that I trimmed. And let's try remixing this. Okay, so for this particular stretch, remixing doesn't do much, but maybe I could shake things up a little bit by, idealizing this more problematic section and then wiggling again, maybe. I'm certainly not an expert Foldit player, but that seems like something that could in the long term improve our model. Hi, Alan. Thanks for your question. I think this is definitely one that is more in Scott's wheelhouse. I'm going to try another kind of idealize here. Yeah, and thank you so much for contributing to the stream, Joanna. I hope you enjoyed playing with the new tool. Yeah, that's a great point that Scott is making right now. That's one of the reasons that we're very excited about this at the Foldit team, is because it's pretty much something that's unprecedented in crystallography and in citizen science. Is a tool that you can use to recalculate density in real time in the context of the game. Like, no one's ever done it. So we're really excited to be able to introduce this as a tool for players and for scientists as well. And I'll run another refine density now. All right, and we see a little bit of a jump in our score. I'm going to try increasing wiggle power to get rid of some of the more pesky parts of the backbone here that are still looking poor. So those of you who've been following along probably are noticing that there's fewer and fewer artifacts in the density as we continue to see score jumps when we refine. And echoing what Scott's saying in chat here, I think that there's maybe never been a more exciting time to try to contribute to Foldit puzzles if your goal is to make a real difference in science. You know, as I mentioned before, the work that we've been doing with the team at PDB Redo has shown that Foldit players really are making a difference in these density reconstruction puzzles, and this refined density tool definitely, you know, take that to another level. And again, we encourage anyone who's here watching to ask any questions that they might have about the new tool, whether that be a science question, a question, more game focused about how we envision players using it, or also feedback about the tool or the game in general. This is a great time for all of that, because we're here live listening to your questions, and would love to learn more about everyone's perspective. Thank you so much, Alan. We appreciate you chiming in. We would also appreciate some potential feedback on this new format. This is the first time we've done something like this. There have been new tool demos before for Foldit, but never live streamed on the YouTube before. So we'd love to know if people find this new format exciting or might prefer some other way of doing it. Yeah, just to reiterate, we're very excited about this particular tool because we think it's a huge step for density puzzles. So we're going to wrap up the stream soon. So if anyone had any lingering questions that they had about the Refine Density tool or Foldit in general, now would be the time to ask. And we'd just like to reiterate our appreciation for anyone that's already asked any questions or anyone that's just here viewing and helping support us. Thanks, everyone. And just to explain the purpose of the stream one more time for anyone who might have gotten here late, this is a new tool that we just added to Foldit that we think is a huge jump in the quality of our density reconstruction puzzle series and density in Foldit in general, and it's Refine Density. It's a tool that we expect to improve the quality of Foldit models created for density puzzles, and it will create what we consider to be an iterative process. So you'll do your usual improvements to the backbone and side chains with tools like Wiggle and Shake, Remix, all of that, run your scripts. And then if you think that, the bottleneck for the quality of, your score is some bottleneck in the quality of the density itself or some artifact or something, you hit the Refine Density button. It could help you escape some local maximum. It could help point out things that you might have done wrong or help the density better reflect the improvements that you've made. And an iterative process, right? So as the density improves, you improve your model to match that density, and overall, it'll just lead to better results. And you see there, even after, wiggling and refining probably a dozen times at this point, I just managed to even further improve the density again with a refine. So we imagine this is something that'll help players towards the beginning of puzzles, but also like as they're trying to polish their score as much as possible, it could even lead to further improvements there. So yeah, thanks again to anyone that joined us, and to everyone that had some questions. And as Scott mentioned, we have forums on our website, fold.it, as well as our Discord for the game. So this is not the only opportunity that people will get to, ask questions about the tool. We'll be available to answer anyone's questions, address, anyone that thinks they have found a way to improve the tool or the game in general. We always appreciate feedback in any form and take it into account and try to improve the game as much as possible for the players. So thanks again, everyone. We'll run one final refine here. All right, one final thank you to everyone for joining us today. I think we'll call it a stream. Bye, everyone.